How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hanover Bay. Today we're going to be building Fenway Park, doing a recreation of Fenway Park. It's not going to be exactly the same as it is in real life. For those who don't know, Fenway Park is the home of the Boston Red Sox. It's a baseball stadium in Boston. And I'm doing this as part of a challenge that Sully has been hosting on his Discord server. He released some new baseball field assets and baseball park assets, and he's been hosting a challenge to see who can come up with the best build, I suppose, with these new assets. And so I decided, you know what, I'll go ahead and join and see what I can come up with. I was actually planning on making Fenway Park already because we're doing this Boston inspired Hanover Bay series, and so I figured, this is a perfect opportunity to go ahead and get started on Fenway Park since I was going to do it already. And so that's what we're doing in this episode. You see, I've got the field laid out. The baseball diamond is just part of the decal pack that he released. The red outline I actually did with Elgendo's 87's colored surfaces pack. And I just drew out a little red outline because that's how it looks. I'll show something on Google Earth here and show you guys what it looks like. So I did that. I guess I wasn't recording whenever I did those foundational layers, but I used the wiki to find the dimensions for the field. So it's got a pretty interesting shape, this stadium here and this field here. So I had to use the wiki to find the dimensions and everything, and then I drew out the outline with that red color surface that Elgendo released. And now I'm just working on the stadiums, which are kind of a little bit of a challenge to get together. So like we said, this stadium has kind of a very unique shape to it, and these stadium assets aren't really built to be super modular enough to sort of encompass weird shapes like this. So you see, sometimes there's little areas where they kind of overlap on each other and stuff like that, and there's not really a whole lot I can do to mitigate that. I can just try to make it as best as I can, and we'll just go from there. So, but I think I continue to do a lot of tweaks and stuff to it as I keep going on, and I think that the final build that we have is definitely looking really good. So you'll just have to wait and see. Here we are starting on the green monster. So it's a huge green wall. If you ever played Fallout 4, you'll probably have seen it. You do the quest where you have to go and grab some green paint for the wall. So they're trying to keep the green paint on the green monster there on the wall. So that whole Diamond City area in Fallout 4 is based off of Fenway Park, and so yeah, there's the green monster here, and so we're just gonna stack some shipping crates on top of each other. It kind of looks like sort of shipping crate-esque in real life. It's got that sort of metal texture to it, so I figured these were probably the best asset that I could incorporate to get the sort of vibe. Right now I'm just trying to narrow down the green sort of color to it. It's kind of like a greenish blue. It's not like a pure green. It's got like just a little bit of blue to it, and you see I'm kind of alt-tabbing and looking in Google Earth because I still only have one monitor, which I really need to fix. Doing builds like this where I'm having to constantly look at Google Earth and stuff like that is kind of challenging sometimes with just one monitor, but I make it work. And so we've kind of got that green with just a little bit of blue in the background in it, and it's looking pretty nice. And so we got that. Now I'm just getting the rest of these stadiums built up. So we've got the red part of the stadiums, which kind of circles around the sort of part that's closest to the home base. And then over here, we've got a green part of the stadiums, which is a little bit straighter. There's not as many curves. There is one sort of just like 45-degree angle in these, which we'll be building here in a moment. But for the most part, these are a lot more simple to build, and they've got a green color instead of a red color. So you'll be seeing that here momentarily. This part, if you look on Google Earth, which I can show right now, it starts on the second floor. It doesn't start on the first floor, that sort of 45-degree angle there. So I'm trying to get that sort of settled and just moving everything around. I think I end up just like wiping a lot of this out and starting over, because it just seems a little bit more simpler to do that. I had a lot of fun with this build. This build was really great. I was kind of feeling for a while like I was just kind of not getting out of my comfort zone enough, that I was just kind of building a lot of the same things over and over again, especially with the limited, assets that we have in the game and whatnot. And so it was really fun to do something that forced me to be creative and forced me to do the interesting things with the asset variety that we have in the game, and sort of just try to come up with something that, hasn't really been done in Cities Skylines until the last couple weeks whenever Sully hosted this challenge. And so it's been super fun working on this build, and I really loved it, and I'm really excited to see what you guys think about the build in the comments and all your feedback and whatnot. So yeah, this has been super fun and super refreshing, and definitely gotten me inspired to keep on working on these builds. And we don't just build the stadium in this video. Actually, we're going to build the stadium plus all of the surrounding areas. I got a little bit carried away, which is kind of why it took a little bit longer to get this video out than normal, and I apologize about that. But we do a lot of building in this episode, probably a lot more than I should have tried to pack into one episode, but I really wanted to get the whole vibe of the entire area. And so I thought that in order to really sell this build in its entire capacity, I wanted to build the entire area around it, so it didn't feel like it was just sitting alone. I think the surrounding areas are just as important as the actual build itself when it comes to framing the build. So that's what we're gonna do, and you'll see that here shortly. Right now, this is one of the new grass assets that Sully's gonna be releasing here soon. So he's got two different packs that he's going to be releasing here very shortly. It's going to be these grass assets. He's got some new manicured grass assets, which I know I've been talking about getting new manicured grass assets for a long time, even as far back as my first video. If any of you guys have watched that, you'll have known that I was talking about, hey, when are we going to get some new grass surfaces? So I'm really happy about that, and I use them extensively throughout this build and all the surrounding areas and whatnot. And so I think it was a really nice addition to the game. But he's got that asset pack that's coming out, but then he's also got these baseball field asset packs, which is super clutch for me. I remember, if you guys watched my last video, I made a baseball little diamond in that video, and I did it all based off of just surfaces. So I laid out guidelines with net lanes to get the dimensions correct, and I went through and painted all the surfaces, and it took like a good 20 minutes just to do like a little practice field like in a public park. And so I think it really was needed to just get some pre-made decals for these baseball diamonds and whatnot. And so it was really clutch that Sully came around and had that ready for me whenever I was ready to build the Fenway Park here. So right here, I'm just trying to get sort of the surroundings of Fenway Park. I noticed that on the outside of it, it kind of had this like sort of, the same as the rest of Boston, I guess. It's kind of these old, red brick buildings. It kind of almost had like a warehouse vibe to it. There's a lot of like large garage doors and whatnot, and the red brick sides and stuff like that. And so I was looking at what assets I had available to me to make this facade for the stadium, and I found that these condo assets, and then also I had a custom asset which was a modified version of the condo asset, which was a row house university, I suppose. I think that's what it's called. And so I used a combination of those two assets to make the facades for this building, and I think it turned out pretty nice. I'm going to go through and remove like all of these hedges and stuff like that, and I'm removing the water towers too, because they get a little bit repetitive whenever you place like 15 of these down. So that's what I'm doing. Now I'm just getting a little bit of a road, just winding around through here. So if you look at Google Earth, you'll know that the roads aren't this windy. The shape isn't exactly the same. There's a little details that are different. I'm not trying to claim that this is a one-to-one, absolute perfect recreation of Fenway Park, because that would have been, almost impossible, or at least it would have taken a whole lot longer to try to get all that sorted out with the tools that we have available in Cities Skylines II at the moment. So, but I wanted to do my best at a recreation of it, and so that's what I'm doing here. So we've got the facades down. The facades are looking pretty good. And you'll see there's downtown in the background. I haven't put that in my video yet. I was planning on doing the downtown as part 2, but if I'm being honest, I wasn't super pleased with how the downtown turned out. So I decided I would wait on that and just build this stadium in this area first, and then maybe we'll get to the downtown in part 3. So I think a lot of that stuff that you see in the background, I'm probably going to rip out and completely redo. And you'll see that later on in the series. But right now, I'm trying to figure out how to make these stadium lights for this area, and I'm not using any custom. I think at one point somebody made some custom assets for like stadium lights, but I missed that. And so I was trying to figure out how I can do that with just the assets that are in the game. And I found that I could put these cranes upside down and then attach lights to them, and it kind of just looked like stadium lights. So I'm just rolling with that at this point. I'm alt tabbing every once in a while and looking at Google Earth, trying to figure out where these stadium lights are placed so I can get, you know, an accurate placement. And so I'm just going through and trying to get these all in the right spots. And I know there's something poking out there on the green monster, and I'm going to fix that, so don't worry about that. So just going through and getting these placed down. Some are taller than the others, some are shorter, you know, some are in different areas. And so I'm just trying to get it as accurate as possible with the placement of these lights. And I really like, I think the upside down cranes turned out actually like super fantastic. It was as far as I could go without using custom assets. I think it was probably as good as I could get. I think at first I tried like making like my own sort of metal lattice. I don't know how it would, I'm sure there's a word for that, but I tried to make my own stuff with like fences and things like that, and it just wasn't working out, and it was like super difficult to make, and it would have taken hours. And then I was like, you know what, can I just flip a crane upside down? And you know what, I could. Now I'm just placing some wall lights on the sides here, so they're actual functioning lights. Now they're not going to be powerful enough to actually hit the field, unfortunately, but they are lights, and whenever it's nighttime you can see them glowing, and it definitely sells that vibe of just the stadium lights that I was trying to go for here. So we're just going through and placing all those lights here. I didn't put a super ton of meticulous detail into this build. Looking back on it, I kind of wish I did go a little bit more into detail, but I definitely did as much detail as I think was necessary. So I think the whole build definitely stands on its own as sort of it's a complete picture for sure whenever you look at it. And you know, you've seen the cinematics at the intro, and you've seen the thumbnail of the video, so you can make your own judgments on that. And I definitely love to hear your comments. You know, I'm always down, you know, to go back and change things and go back and, you know, edit things and add more detail later on, you know, if it is deemed necessary. So that's always something that I'm looking at as I'm going through these videos and stuff like that. And so yeah, right now I'm just there's trying to add some more of these stadium sort of facade areas, or I guess this wouldn't even be a facade, these parts on the end here. It would be sort of just more of the building itself, I guess. You know, you'd probably have a lot of amenities in there, and you'd have different places you can go and get food and stuff like that, you know, just the classic sort of stadium sort of amenities that you would have. I put like a parking garage asset over there. If you noticed, I kind of cut that out a little bit because it's going to change later. That parking asset is going to change to something that's going to be a little bit more fitting in there later on, so you'll see that. Right now I'm just doing this area over here. If you look on Google Earth, you'll see that there is some seating on top of this little area. Now it's a lot more sort of advanced, I suppose, in real life, that you've got like, I think it's like, I wonder if it's grass. I think there is just grass on the roofs. It's green on Google Earth, and so it looks like grass to me. I couldn't figure out how to do like actual grass roofs in this game. Maybe I'm missing something. If you guys have any ideas, definitely let me know in the comments. But so they have these sort of terraces up here where they have seating and different little things that, you know, you can do. You can sit up here on the roof and watch the baseball game while you're eating dinner or something like that. It's pretty nice looking. It seems like a nice little place to chill out and sort of enjoy the baseball game. So, you know, I wanted to recreate that as best as I could with the tools that I have available. So I'm just making this, you know, little area, this little seating area up here. And instead of having the grass on the floor, I was like, I still want to have greenery up here. So I'm going to add a bunch of planters, you know, with greenery inside of them, and try to, give a little bit of a fancy vibe to this area. And we're gonna have some tables, where people can have their dinner just like in real life. And so that's kind of what I'm going for here. So I'm pretty happy with how this area turned out. I wish I could have gone into a little bit more detail, I suppose, in a perfect world. But as far as everything that I have available to me, I think I enjoy the way this turned out. I'm just looking for some table assets here. There's always, a whole bunch of different tables to choose from. Sometimes it's kind of hard to figure out which one you want to choose. These are like ship deck ones, I think. I think they were like specifically designed to be on a ship or something like that, but they look quite nice. Oh yeah, so here I am replacing that parking asset, and I replaced it with this building here, and I think it looks a whole lot more, like the entrance to a stadium. It's got that grand entrance with the pillars and big windows and big doors and stuff like that. It just looks like the type of thing that you would see, on the entrance to a stadium. So I was pretty pleased with finding that asset for the entrance there. Now there's multiple entrances to this. You've got the entrance on the north side with the brick facades, and then you've got the more modern entrance off to the south side. Right now I'm just doing a little bit of cleaning up of the surfaces and assets and stuff that a lot of these condo buildings generated. It looks like it got cut out of the video, but you see I made like a concrete wall there behind the green monster, and I'm actually, really pleased with how that turned out. I'm surprised I cut it out of the video, but it seems like it's too late at this point when I'm recording it to bring it back. But I'll definitely show it off more here later. I just stacked a bunch of the concrete blocks on top of each other, and it, just created like this really, really nice convincing wall for the backside of that stadium there. Looks like right now I'm starting to get started on the surrounding areas of the stadium. I found that a lot of these 2x4 mixed use buildings have kind of the perfect vibe for the Boston area. They've got these, really natural looking sort of red brick colorings to them, and they've got the mixed use shops on the bottom and then the apartments on the top, and they're kind of like the perfect height and everything too. And so I use these a lot throughout this entire area. So this is kind of one of the, I suppose, symptoms of sort of the lack of assets that we have in the game at the moment, at least in comparison to Cities Skylines 1, where there's not, I suppose if you want to nail down a specific theme and you don't want to sort of mix and match that theme too much, you end up having to use the same assets over and over again a lot of the times. It's sort of comparable to whenever I made Old Town last episode, and I kind of just used the same sort of row houses over and over again, because really they were just the row houses that fit within that theme. But I think if you get creative with it, and you get creative with the I suppose form of it, so you get creative with the ways that you're changing up the variation of the buildings and the ways that you're placing the buildings and things like that, and you put in some extra details like an alleyway some places and a parking lot in other places. You can get pretty creative with the way that you form these areas out, and it ends up making it to where you can get a pretty varied and an interesting look, even though you're kind of using a lot of the same assets over and over again. So there's certain things that you have to take into account, I suppose, whenever there's limitations that are placed upon you. So I'm just adding a lot of parking lots right now. I assume, Boston is a pretty sort of European, I guess, city in comparison to a lot of American cities. It's got a lot of, different sort of European vibes to it. But at the same time, it's still an American city, and there's still going to be a lot of people driving cars and stuff like that. And you're going to need parking lots near a stadium, because there's going to be a lot of people coming. There's going to be a lot of people driving over here. I think Fenway Park seats like 37,000 people or something like that. And so, you're going to need a lot of parking to accommodate that sort of traffic on a regular basis. So definitely trying to get as many parking lots in here as possible. But for now, we're just going to continue to build out these surrounding areas, and I'll be back with more commentary whenever we have key points or we start building something new. So here we're going to be getting started on the Back Bay East and the Back Bay areas. So this is a scaled down version of Boston. You know, normally there would be more space between the Fenway Park and these Back Bay areas, but for the purposes of our build, it's going to be scaled down, and so it's going to be a lot closer than it normally would be. So Back Bay East is sort of this pretty sprawling row house district in Boston, and it's just got these really straight roads and these sort of just red brick row houses that just kind of go on, you know, for a long time. And so we're going to be building that. Looks like I've done a little bit of a detour into just setting down some commercial buildings, but the main focus for, you know, the next couple minutes or so is just going to be building these row houses up throughout this entire sort of grid that you see laid out in front of you. And I kind of want to go back later. I was just placing a lot of this down as just getting the footprint down of everything, and you know, I do go into a decent amount of detail for everything, but I would like to go in and make some small adjustments to these Back Bay East areas, because there, if you look on Google Earth, there's like this large sort of park that just runs through the middle of Back Bay East, and I realized the other day whenever I was looking at Google Earth that I didn't really include that in the build, and so, you know, I'd like to include that in, at least to some regard. And so we're going to be sort of looking at getting that included here later on in the series. But so you've got Back Bay East, which is, you know, a large sort of sprawling row house district, and then you've got Back Bay, which is kind of like almost like its own little downtown center. You've got a couple of different skyscrapers that are sort of peeking out above the, you know, everything else in the area, and so it's kind of like a extension of the downtown Boston, in a sort of, so to speak. And so we're gonna be seeing that here shortly, where we've got the row house district, and then kind of right next to it we'll have like a little bit of a downtown center in a way. So that's what we're gonna be building over the next 10 minutes or so. So I'll be back whenever we have more key points to talk about. and welcome to the live play section of this video. We did quite a lot of work in this video, so I wanted to sort of go through everything in a little bit of a slower format and show everybody sort of what we worked on in the video. If you're still watching toward the end of this video, then we can kind of go over this in a slower format. So we've got the baseball stadium here this is the baseball infield decal pack from Sully that he'll be releasing here soon, along with his newest YouTube video, which will probably come out in I'm not sure when it's going to come out, but it should be out soon. And I used Elgendo's textures, the colored textures mod, to get the colored texture for this red outline here on the field. And then we just got, the stadiums and stuff. So you saw, how we created everything. We've just got, some pillars to fill in the spaces here. I've got this wall that I made from the concrete pillars. I think this is horizontal pillar 22, and then we've got the train vertical pillar as like support columns for it. Other than that, the whole area around it is very much just mixed use development. A lot of these sort of brick buildings with shops on the bottom and the apartments on the top. We got lots of little parking lots and whatnot, just sort of hanging out. Got lots of people in this area. Looks like my population is going down quite a lot. The realistic population and density mod is not working at the moment because of the latest update. So I think that's why my population is going down, because I had it ramped up. I initially turned up a lot of the settings on that to try to get more population in Angler Creek. And so I think a lot of these row houses and stuff are lowering the amount of residents that they have in them now that the mod isn't enabled, and that's why we're getting a downturn in population, but that's all right. But we've got the back bay areas, so we've got that row house district that I was talking about, and then we've got sort of this little bit of downtown area that I was also talking about. This is the downtown that I was talking about, which I'm probably going to tear out or at least revamp a little bit. It's not done. See, there's still a lot over here that just isn't done yet. So it's kind of spoilers, but most likely it's going to be changed anyways, so it's not that big of a spoiler. But for the most part, we just got these areas over here. I had some row houses that were sort of adjacent to the river here. Or I guess, is it a river? Let's see. I guess it's more or less just sort of a, I guess kind of a bay, I suppose. I don't know. It's just like a little inlet here on the water. We got some nicer houses here. I figured maybe have some bigger houses sort of in this row house area. I'm sure this is probably a pretty desirable place to live, although living next to the highway would kind of suck. But for the most part, you have, really good access to a lot of amenities and a lot of, interesting city life in this area. And so I figured this would probably be a pretty desirable place to live, especially right next to the water here and right next to the stadium and everything. Right here, I've just done a little bit of groundwork and detailing of this interchange here. Nothing fancy with the interchange, just an on-ramp and an off-ramp, This isn't getting a ton of traffic as it stands right now. I mean, it's got a little bit of traffic, but for the most part, it's working pretty good. We might have to upgrade it later once we get more population, but for the moment, I think we're doing all right. But yeah, I just added some decals and stuff to kind of rough this area up. A lot of interchanges, they're not like, you might have like areas that are close to them that are nice, but then the actual interchange itself is like kind of run down a little bit, I added like some warehouses, some industrial warehouses next to the interchange and things like that, and just kind of gave it a little bit of an overgrown look to try to, seat it into the environment nicely. So that's what we've got going on over here. There's a lot of parkland over here by the downtown area. So we've got a couple of towers here, and then a couple of like little shopping centers, or maybe like this might be some sort of gathering center. I forgot what it would be called, like a conference center maybe. And we got a couple of these over here, the Fashion Square, the Activity Plaza. We got some amenities sort of in here. We got a firehouse, a police station, a post office, which are all nice and seated into their plots. I kind of made like a little fence around this area and just gave it some decals, you know, some little trash decals, which, man, hold on, who made those trash decals? Because they're super awesome. Oh, it was Elgendo. Yep, that makes sense. But then, other than that, we've just got a lot of these mixed housing just all over the place here. I tried my best to make it look a little bit varied, even though it's sort of the same asset over and over again. We got like some little alleyways here and parking lots here and there, just sort of sprawled out. You get the Rubique. I'm not sure how that's supposed to be pronounced, but we've got little center over here with the capacitor building and the hospital. I'm not super pleased with this hospital asset. I kind of want to see if maybe somebody's made like a custom hospital asset. I think somebody has. That's like a little bit less, I don't know. It kind of just looks like a gaming PC or something like that. It doesn't really sort of match the vibe of this area. So maybe I'll have to find something else for that hospital asset. But we did need a hospital here because people were complaining about not getting access to healthcare. So I just plopped one down, but that's definitely not sort of set in stone. It'll probably get removed. Over here on the other side of the highway, most likely I plan on adding more row houses and then transitioning the row houses into sort of just low density residential. So that's what I plan to do for this area over here, and I think that's going to turn out pretty nice. But yeah, this whole area with the outlined by the highways. So we've got this interstate that's flowing through here, and then we've got two interchanges. We've got this one interchange here, and then we've got a clover here, which so this highway can go that way eventually once I get to building over there. But this whole sort of little area right here that I'm outlining with my mouse is going to be roughly the size of the main city. So that's kind of my plan, is to get this whole area filled out with a city, and then we'll have plenty of space to add, you know, smaller towns in all over this area and other cities and stuff like that. I've been looking at Google Earth a lot. I've been looking at the Boston area, the Cambridge area, and stuff like that, and I've got a lot of inspiration, a lot of ideas, you know, for the upcoming videos. And I think that this is definitely has the potential to be a super interesting and varied build. So I'm really excited about, you know, what I can achieve with this map. I think the land area is a lot less limiting than in Angler Creek. And I know I've talked about land area being good for realism, you know, whenever you have physical limitations for your builds, it helps you sort of seat the builds into the environment. But then at the same time, if your area is a little bit too limiting, it limits what you can build and what you can achieve. And so I think this map is going to treat us really nicely in the way that it's got nice natural features, but at the same time it's got plenty of space for us to sprawl out and create, you know, whatever we want. So I just wanted to go over that. I think that pretty much covers all of this that we've built in this episode. So that's going to be it then. So I want to thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked the video, I would appreciate a like. And if you want to see more, consider subscribing. And I will see you all in the next one.